On air on ticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez Cleary.
It is a Good Sense Friday here on 93.7 The Ticket. If you want to be like the cool kids here at The Ticket, go and get yourself some Good Sense. I'm Jake Bachman here with Rico, who has been driving this morning from Lawrence, Kansas. Rico, why did you decide to stay the night in Lawrence? I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought you might make the drive home.
Well, because the game didn't start till 6:30. The game did not get over until about 8:30. And after I got out of the post-game presser, it was about 9:30.
Oh, okay.
I was not driving 3 hours just to get home at midnight
Wake up early.
to then wake up early and come into work.
Yeah.
So I figured I'll stay there, I'll drive back, and I'll just go to work.
How was the stay? Did you find an Airbnb or did you find
I got a hotel. I got a hotel. Yeah.
One of the nicest ones in Lawrence?
No, it was not.
No, it's not.
It was a decent hotel.
But did you parade around Lawrence a little bit? There's not like any bad
No,
parts
I didn't
of
really.
Lawrence.
No, it was a college town. It was really nice. I really liked Lawrence. I drove around a little bit. I didn't really stop anywhere. I stopped at one place for lunch. Shout out to the burgers. I think it was the burger shop. It's delicious. It was fantastic. It had like a Chipotle cocoa ketchup that they put on this burger that I had, and it was really good. Didn't know if I would like it, but it was really tasty.
You took a risk.
I did, and I don't regret it. It was delicious. So shout out to that. But yeah, no, it was just everywhere I drove. Like, there's certain parts of town here in Lincoln where you're driving around, you're just like, oh, this is like the college part. Like, this is where the college kids live.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some bad houses, but it's just like, oh, this looks like a college house. That was like everywhere.
That was the whole town, yeah.
Like, there were some houses where you're like, that's definitely a party house. But then there were some where like, that is a college house, and that is a really nice college house. At least on the outside. I don't know about the inside. But there's like, there's like Massachusetts Street or something like that. There's a bunch of their streets, like close to campus, are named after states. But they're not in any particular order. They're not in alphabetical order. They're just around. But Massachusetts Street has like this stretch where there's like a bunch of restaurants and bars and like all this stuff. And I'm guessing that's like the hangout spot for the college students. But it was awesome. Like there were so many restaurants I wanted to try. I only tried one. I was only down there for one night. So, but really, really fun town.
Yeah,
my first time at the Fog also.
Oh yeah,
really old building, really small, really compact. Everything's just right there. You're like right on top of each other the whole time. The stairs for the bleachers still wood. The bleachers are plastic now. I think they covered those on the plastic, but the stairs still wood. Super loud. They need to turn their speaker system down.
They were playing some unedited stuff. I saw you.
Yeah, they messed up. One of the songs was not the radio edit, but it was fantastic. Very different from a game at PBA. Mostly because at PBA for the media we sit all the way up in the corner so you can see the entire court. We're right on the court, right courtside, and they put me in the corner though, so it was kind of hard for me to see one end of the court. But just a fantastic experience. Unfortunately, the Nebraska women did not come out on top in the second meeting of the season with the Kansas Jayhawks, but they put up a pretty good fight. Some very uncharacteristic things going on though for them.
Well, and the loss of Sam Hybe maybe changed up what you're used to there.
Well, they had both Hybe and Widener for that first matchup with Kansas, which went to triple overtime, as many people are very aware of. But yeah, the more recent loss of Sam Hybe really, really took a toll. They had Jazz Shelley running the point. She pretty much, in her own words, summed up the fact that she wasn't really, she isn't really a point guard, so that wasn't really her specialty to get the offense set and get everybody in the positions that they needed to be in for Nebraska to run the correct offensive set. She did a pretty good job. She finished with 9 assists, but in terms of getting everybody in the right positions, it was a little bit of a struggle for her. That's usually Sam's job.
And we saw with the Nebraska men too. I mean, you remember when they had their big injuries, and it took. I mean, they lost like 4 games in a row. It takes a while to get that adjustment there going. But it's interesting. Fog Allen too. I was just kind of looking up. I was surprised the record attendance there was from 1955. The opener against Kansas State.
Well, they made it smaller.
Okay.
And then they made it smaller for a couple of years. Then they made it close to that. Because what's the record again?
About 17,228.
Yeah, I think it seats 17,000 again, or it might be 16,000. So they're not going to get the record because they don't have as many seats anymore.
Yeah.
But they can come close, and I'm sure I want to know what that building sounds like when it's full, because it was about 20 rows from courtside all the way up to about 20 rows was full all around. But the loudest part of it all was the band directly to my left and the speaker system whenever they played something over the speakers. Although the fans did get loud, there was a massive Husker contingent there to cheer on the Nebraska women, and it was very impressive. Husker fans, you talk about all the time in football, but it doesn't matter the sport. They travel.
How well they travel.
They did a great job.
Well, and it is cool just for a lot of those people maybe had not been to the Fog either. It's just you just feel and again I haven't been there for a game. I want to make it there. I went on a tour there. I've been to Lawrence twice, and it is a beautiful campus, really up on a hill. So I mean that would be the one thing I'd take back is if you're walking campus, you'd probably have to walk quite a bit and burn some calories, but that's okay, I guess.
It's a massive campus,
but it is beautiful. Yeah, and it really
seems huge. Like when I'm driving around and I'm just like, oops, this is still campus. I'm comparing that to Nebraska's campus, and I just feel like Nebraska's is. I don't know. It seems smaller. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, and Nebraska's is split up a bit. Different campuses. I don't know which one would be bigger, like as far as land.
I don't know.
Yeah. Either way,
I wanted to make my way back out to the track because I'd run there once before for a Kansas relays. It was the 98th running of the Kansas relays. I have the shirt at home. I don't know which one it was, but
this is a high school or college?
College.
Okay.
College. I was supposed to go in high school, but our senior class got in trouble, so we didn't go.
Oh, because of you?
No, it was not me.
No.
It was other seniors. Ruined it for all of us.
Yeah.
And I looked at the times afterwards. I would have won, but it's fine. It's neither here nor there.
Whatever, yeah.
Neither here nor there. I went to college, and the track was new. It had just been built a couple of years ago, and it is gorgeous. I want to make my way back out there because it's also where they play their softball and soccer games. It's just a sports complex that they have out there.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, they do need to work. Again, my review for going to the Kansas Duke game, they need to work on, I don't think they're prepared for a sold-out football stadium because the parking is awful.
Well, they're Fog is right on campus. It's in the middle of campus.
Yeah.
So I'm driving around. I see a bunch of Nebraska plates, and everybody's driving around trying to find a spot. I parked where they said that I talked to somebody and they're like, "Oh, parking's free after 5." And I was like, oh, "Okay, cool." I got there at 4:30, and I was like, "You know what? I'll be okay. It's fine. Yeah. It's free after 5. It's half an hour. It'll be okay." Went back to my car. I had I should have paid.
The Kansas folks saw the Nebraska.
Yeah, I should have paid.
What is it, like a $10 ticket?
It's a $16 ticket.
A $16 ticket?
Yeah, it's a $16 ticket.
Hey.
And I'm pretty sure if I would have paid, it would have been like $3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Did you pay the ticket?
Not yet. I still have
to. I mean, what are they going to do there?
It says it goes up $10 however many days.
That's fine. You'll never pay it. They'll never know.
I don't know.
You just feel like giving it.
I feel like I don't want to get in trouble.
Don't risk it.
Yeah, I don't want to get. What if I ever go back to Kansas?
I've been 10 years from now. You got a war now.
Yeah, I gotta pay you, and that's the car.
That's the guy.
You never paid your ticket.
He owes us $1,000 now. Oh yeah. Just
it's $16. Not a lot.
But hey, I'm a media member.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, I was taking pictures.
Where's Media Park?
What are you doing?
All right, let's take a quick break here on the Water Cooler. Coming up next, it is a huge recruiting weekend. The number one player in the nation is in town. So is another top 10 player. So is another top, a couple top 25 players. A lot of top 100 players. Huge recruiting news. We'll break it all down with Brian Munson of Husker Online and On 3. Coming up next year on the Take It Water Cooler on 93.7. The Ticket.
Mike Shaver here to tell you that Trek CBD has a new name, and it's Hemp Boss. It's the same product you've grown to love, just a new name. Spring sports are on the horizon, and Hemp Boss has a variety of products to help calm me down during games and on the golf course so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options for you to calm you down before, during, and after any event. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Hemp Boss has it all at 84 Fernandina. Hemp Boss, naturally healthy CBD.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beers, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top shelf liquor to crowd favorite beer, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination, or did they recognize an opportunity? Discover a career that lets you help families reach their financial goals as you build lasting professional relationships. One with unlimited income potential. From Modern Woodman, a leading fraternal financial services provider.
I'm Modern Woodman Regional Director Sean Erickson. Call me at 402-483-6515 to learn about career opportunities.
Modern Woodman of America. Touching lives, securing futures.
The best way to learn about Southeast Community College is to visit. And you can check out our spaces before you visit in person with a virtual campus tour. An opportunity to see our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, and Milford as you learn about our programs and areas of study. There are virtual tours of our learning centers too. We can even take you on a personalized virtual tour. Learn more on our website, southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
A lot of businesses say that they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business feels anything but for your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, as they do with customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, shop tech, and diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740. Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for ready mix concrete, Husker concrete, and Beatrice concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that form the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebco.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Are you planting this spring? Make safety your priority. LES requires any landscaping or trees to be planted a safe distance from electrical lines and equipment to give crews safe access. Visit les.com/trees to learn more.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
The Nebraska Lottery has given over $900 million back to our state since 1993. It's gone to improve our environment, education, and state fair.
Over $900 million? That's something.
I'll say.
I have a great idea for a commercial. Have someone count to 900 million out loud.
That would take 28 years. Not a good idea.
I don't know, with a little background music and some sound effects.
There's another studio down the hall. Why don't you get started?
The Nebraska Lottery, 30 years of building a better Nebraska.
The Nebraska Lottery has given over $900 million back to our state since 1993. The proceeds have helped protect and improve Nebraska's environment, funded need-based scholarships for Nebraska students, and maintained and improved facilities at the state fair.
That's terrific. You should put that on your website.
It already is. Just click on beneficiaries in the menu.
Menu? You guys serve food too?
Maybe you should get off your feet for a while.
The Nebraska Lottery, 30 years of building a better Nebraska.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $10 off any athletic shoes $105 and under, and get $15 off any shoe over $105. Choose from respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, On, and 361 Running. And don't forget the trendy Hey Dudes. A new shipment just arrived for the season. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66 and Q in Lincoln.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather, sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
A mix of sun and clouds expected for our Friday. We'll top out near 54. Winds out of the south at around 10. Overnight increasing cloud cover, a low of around 34. We'll have a chance of scattered showers tomorrow afternoon as we'll reach up to a high of around 56. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Ticket Water Cooler and ready to break down some Husker recruiting. And what better time to do it than when Nebraska has one of their biggest recruiting weekends of all time. I mean, the star power of this, as far as at least recruiting profiles, is really crazy. So we'll welcome in, as tradition, Brian Munson on 3 and Husker Online. Brian, how's it going today?
Hey, I'm doing well. We're getting ready to do a lot of work the rest of the weekend, covering all the guys you just mentioned, covering all the things we're going to talk about here.
Oh, I bet it's going to be a busy weekend for you.
You're not busy at all. What are you talking about?
just almost 30 recruits to cover over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I don't see any problems with that whatsoever. Seems pretty simple, actually.
Yeah, right.
Now, I wanted to get this out of the way out of the gate because somebody asked it earlier. Are these all unofficial visits?
They are. The official visit schedule doesn't kick off until a little bit later on. This is the junior day unofficial visit. Probably would be, like some NIL implications here for some folks, obviously for kids that come from those states where it's legal to kind of have that. Ultimately, this is all unofficial, traveling on their own dime.
All right. Well, that's very interesting. And of course, Dylan Raiola is the big name coming into town. But I wanted to ask first about Ryan Wingo. Is he a late addition, or we knew about him coming through for a while?
No, I've known about Ryan for a while. It's really kind of interesting, obviously, that this has come up because I think I remember when I confirmed Ryan. It's been at least 2 or 3 weeks now that he's been on there, but he's been jumping around on our visitor list because like you got to put it down like a specific day. You don't get actually I confirmed him on March 7th. So known about it for going on about 3 weeks. He's jumping around on our visitor list because he's showing up on the 24th, not on the 25th. So we've got like 25 guys showing up on the 25th date, 2 guys showing up on the 24th date. So Wingo and Riddell are sitting down there. So you got to kind of move around the on-3 visitor list a little bit between Friday and Saturday to see everybody that's there. But yeah, we've known about him now for about 3 weeks.
Of all the recruits that are coming in to visit, who is your like sleeper, like a guy that maybe isn't being talked about enough?
That's a good one. Well, it's really tough to kind of like. It's really tough to exclude a lot of these players because they're so big, and I think that it's. I'm gonna go with the 2 offensive tackles. I'm gonna go with 2 offensive tackles. I'm gonna go with Andrew Sprague and Gage Ginther. I think we all know where the offensive line situation is at currently for Nebraska right now, where they got like 10 healthy guys. You're going to get 4 more guys, at the end of the school year, all high school players. Offensive tackle is a huge lead in the 2024 group, and I think when you get looking at this list, you're starstruck. You get Dylan Raiola, you're going to get your Gatlin Bears, your Ryan Wingos, your Carter Nelsons, Nathaniel Freezers, etc., and on and on and on and on. And I think obviously people want to stop and talk about Brandon Baker. Brandon Baker is #1 offensive tackle in the country. I understand why you want to go ahead and do that. Andrew Sprague is making a return visit. I think this is his 3rd trip to Nebraska, and I'm pretty sure Ginther has been to Nebraska at least twice before, possibly more. And he has quite the connection back to the state because his dad actually played at the University of Nebraska at Kearney in the early 90s. So he has got some ties. I'm gonna go with the 2 offensive tackles that nobody's talking about in Sprague and Ginther as being really underlooked commodities in the weekends class.
We're speaking of Brian Munson on 3 Husker Online, and Brian, I know a lot of these guys are extremely highly rated. Most of these guys are extremely highly rated. So to me, I'm not expecting to see commitments to Nebraska directly after this weekend. Maybe a couple weeks down the line, but If I said 3 of the guys visiting this weekend committed before the spring game to Nebraska, would that be surprising?
I think so, yeah. You're just in this time frame right here where the spring is really about determining where you're going to go take your official visits in the month of June. There could be a couple of commits. I mean, I think like Ian Flint, would make some sense. The tight end from Katy, Texas. I think Gibson Pyle. I think he's accelerating his timeline a little bit. The offensive lineman from Houston, Texas. I just don't feel like it though after that because all these guys have got dates to go to other places. They're all talking about taking official visits. I just feel like that acceleration just isn't there for the rest of these guys. I feel really good about a number of these players ending up, in the signing class for Nebraska. I mean, that's like the one big thing. I don't want to sit there and like rope off a bunch of names and tell you who I think are going to be the guys that are going to be there, or the guys who I feel like right now are the least realistic to end up signing with Nebraska. But I feel pretty good that Nebraska is going to get some of these guys. It's just not going to happen, I think, to your point, this weekend. I don't think it happens in the month leading up to the spring game, but I think it's going to happen sometime, between who the guys that come back for the official visits in June and the guys that come off the board between that date and probably like the middle of July.
Now, Matt Rule he's told us multiple times how he wants to get guys in to watch practices because he wants them to see him in that environment. He wants them to see what they're going to be doing pretty much when they do, if they do end up committing and attending Nebraska. Have you heard back from some of the recruits that have been able to see practice and what their thoughts are?
Well, I mean, I talked to like McGahee and I talked to Caden Massey. I think they both had some pretty important things to say about, how things went, watching practice that day. I really feel like though it's the opinion of Stone Saunders, and he's a 2025 quarterback. He was already at Nebraska. I think it was like end of January, and he came back again. And I pull up his quotes here really quick because I felt like it was super telling. He said practice was fast paced. It was fast paced, but with still high standards and attention to detail. And then he mentioned exactly what he said. Coach Rule would come up. He was completely into it. He was part of every play. He said he was impressed and that they were quote unquote practicing with purpose. I felt like that was about as good a read about, any recruit's assessment as to how practices were going so far, or at least how involved the head coach was, how things were not rusty, getting off the ground with a new coaching staff or whatever. They hit the ground running. I mean, Caden Massey and Willis McGahee, they were expecting for some problems, for some things to go wrong. They didn't see that. And obviously, this was day 2 when Stone Saunders was there, and he was just as impressed and saw Matt Rule out there leading the drills himself. So really good comments so far all the way around from the recruits that have been to Nebraska so far this week.
And Stone Saunders, I've seen his name around a little bit too. Is he their primary 2025 quarterback target right now?
He's the name that's out there at the moment. Obviously, Nebraska and Coach Rule, they've all got really, really tight ties back to that part of the country. And the high school, obviously, that Stone is from, Harrisburg, Bishop McDevitt is I think what it is. They've all got ties back to that part of the country. He's obviously a national, kind of guy when it comes to his recruiting. His film is great. He's not going to overwhelm you when it comes to his size. He's not a 6'4" guy, but he can throw the ball. I mean, and he is going to go check out like Notre Dame and Clemson and Georgia and Tennessee. I mean, he has got some teams absolutely looking at him. It's just you got to kind of see the arm whip. You got to see the arm strength. You got to see all the throws and all the route tree that he's got, and then just not get too caught up on the fact, that he's not a 6'4", 6'5" guy.
Now, of this weekend's list of visitors, I wanted to ask you first of all: is it around? What's the total number that they have that you guys have confirmed?
Let's see. I was just looking at that just 1 second ago. You did have one 2025 guy, Isaiah Mosey, coming in. He is from the same high school as Williams Nawarni. So you're adding one 2025 guy in. You've got 25, 26, 28 is what I know of right now that are in town. And actually 29. The long snapper from Pinnacle High School is there with John Raiola too. The number one long snapper in high school is there too. So just south of 30.
And this is obviously with the number one player in the nation in town. This is got to be somewhat new. But do you remember a weekend like this with past coaching staffs that was able to get the type of star power that they are just this weekend?
Never. I mean, quantities have kind of gotten close to 20 sometimes, like for some junior days, maybe some official visit weekends. I think we got really close to that. I think one time in December with that I think it was 18, 19. Nothing in terms of this quantity, nothing in terms of this quality. I think people would want to go back maybe and point the finger at like Friday Night Lights, Calabrasca movements under Coach Riley. They don't come close. They do not come close to here. And obviously, I think hindsight 2020 they're a little bit, but I think in terms of just overall number of 5 stars, number of 4 stars, the mix of where these players is from is truly interesting. You're getting it from the Northeast, from the West Coast, from Texas, all the way through the 500-mile radius. I think that's one thing that's getting overlooked. I think it's incredibly important. But yeah, there's never been another weekend like this that I can recall.
Yeah, it's crazy just to have these guys targeted. It usually doesn't seem like Nebraska's in on some of these top guys. I want to ask you about Williams Nwaneri. If you could say the name, I already can't screw it up. But he's the number 9 player according to On3 in the nation. I know they kind of talk about a lean. In Nebraska, maybe not quite heavily in the mix. For some of these guys, is this kind of the visit to get Nebraska in the mix, or more prominently in the discussion to land them?
Absolutely. I mean, that's really what the wins. You're not going to get those commits this weekend. Here's what you got to do. You've got to get them turning their attitude and opening their eyes a little bit more towards Nebraska. Williams Nawarni's been in Nebraska. This is his 3rd or his 4th time. He almost basically ruled Nebraska out a year ago before his head coach and head coach's son, which is his teammate, went up there in January and told Williams, hey, things are changing. This was about the time that Bill Bush and Mickey Joseph and Brian Applewhite were being brought on staff. So they were seeing some changes happening there. And then obviously Coach Earl now is rededicated, to recruit in the Kansas City area. And I think that's where you got to kind of go ahead and get started. You have to get back to things are different. Here's how they're different. Here's why they're different. Here's where we're going. Here's the bigger picture. Give me some time to kind of show you this and demonstrate this a little bit. But yeah, this is what that weekend is going to be about. It's going to be about Nebraska moving up some people's boards, some of their lists, and making sure that they can get them back on campus again, hopefully for the spring game and again for an official visit. Those are the big 2 next milestones that Nebraska's trying to fill up with these guys.
All right, we've put it off long enough. It's time to talk some Dylan Raiola. What is, Dylan we know has taken quite a bit of unofficial visits here. Another one here. I know he's got I believe I already got an official visit, his first one lined up with Georgia. Do you expect to see Nebraska to be, obviously to get at least one of those official visits? And what do you think kind of is the goal here? Because it seems with this big recruiting, effort, you hope a couple of these guys just befriend each other and love the vibe here in Nebraska.
Totally. I mean, this is about getting a chance to see Nebraska, meet the number 1 player in the nation, talk about how serious he is about Nebraska, what he kind of sees and what he's kind of thinking and feeling about Nebraska. He's already scheduled to come back from Nebraska's spring game, and Willis McGahee IV, who was on campus on Monday, drops me a line and says, I'm coming back for the spring game too because I want to meet him. It changes a lot of things, even for the defenders, as part of the class if the number one quarterback in the nation is going to end up going there. It's a total game changer. So that's exactly what's going to happen. You're hoping for these social situations where these guys are going to get a chance to talk to one another, figure out like what guys are really thinking about, what their process really looks like, understand like what their timelines really are, and then staying in touch with one another and trying to get back and do it again. Dylan, like I said, Dylan's going to be there in April. Like you said, first official visit appears to be set. It's going to Georgia. I totally anticipate Nebraska is going to get that chance to host that official visit, and I think Nebraska would want to work that out with Dylan to figure out what guys from this weekend, what guys from spring game weekend, what guys from other weekends could they potentially bring in and allow them to have some more time together to talk things through, to talk about Nebraska while they're there in like another official visit in June.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff. If you believe that, Dylan can get some of these guys to go here, but from the sounds of it, at the same time, if you don't end up getting Dylan, then maybe you lose interest from some of these guys. Is there a particular guy, maybe like the wide receivers, the Ryan Wingos the Ryan Pelhams that you're looking out, that would be particularly somebody that Dylan's pretty close to in this weekend visit, or is this has that not really been established yet as to one of his primary buddies?
I think Baker, Brandon Baker, I think that Nathaniel Frazier, I think that they're really, they're going to be linked. I think with Raiola a little bit. I think Tom is another guy that you had mentioned before. Wingo is definitely a guy that's interested in hearing about what's going on with Raiola. I think all of them, even like Carter Nelson, has got a general interest in what's kind of going on with Dylan Raiola and how he gets it in the class. So I think the California guys in particular are the ones that I would look for to try to get something out of to see, how things went with them and Dylan, and see if you can get anything about like what's being said behind the scenes.
Fascinating stuff as always with this weekend in particular. Thanks once again to Brian Munson of On3 and Husker Online for joining us and getting us prepared for the weekend. We will all it feels like a game day weekend almost with how big this recruiting weekend is. Thanks for joining us again, Brian.
You bet, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. There it goes. Brian Munson of Husker Online and On3. We love him joining us every Friday and giving us the scoop. And man, this feels big.
It's going to be so much. It's I don't know how to put this outside of it. This is going to be the biggest recruiting weekend that Nebraska's had in quite some time. Like you mentioned, all the other ones, the Friday Night Lights, the Calibraska movement, and all that. I think this is bigger.
Yeah,
they have 3, 4, 5 stars on campus.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we're used to it because we've been talking about Dylan so much, but it's just again, you're not going to have the number one player interested in Nebraska every year. So,
at Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama, this is just a Tuesday, but this is big for Nebraska.
Yeah, this is huge. I think at any school they'd be pretty happy to get this weekend going. All right, let's take a quick break here on the Ticket Water Cooler. We'll be back with the crossover. Nick Leonard will jump in studio with us, get us ready for happy hour. A couple things to break down. Of course, the Sweet 16 matchups last night and into tonight. And I'll tell you a little bit about the reality of championship teams in college football since 2008. We'll do that next time. Ticket Water Cooler at 93.7 The Ticket.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Services.
Hi, Allahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it is Truck Month at Koppel, and we are pulling out all of the stops for this gigantic event. The lots are starting to fill. We have great deals for you waiting in Louisville. Brand new GMC Sierra Light Duty, new Silverado Light Duty trucks, all trim levels have up to $4,000 in discounts. That's right, $4,000 off all new light duty trucks right now at Koppel. So do not wait. Now is the time to buy a new truck. So stop on in or visit us.com. You must
If your home is delivering year-round comfort you expect, call the experts at Bryant. Warm and cool, comfort and confidence. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Call 467-1111.
Mary Ellen's Soul. It's soul food right here in Lincoln.
ribs, wings, catfish, coleslaw, cornbread, grits. I mean, I'd say it's food like your grandma used to make, but my grandma never made food like that. You know already? You've got to give it a try. Check out their location across from South Point at 27th and Pine Lake, or find their food truck at events all over town. Or visit them online at maryellen's.com to see the full Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Let them fix you a plate.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Katie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say their big purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about Liberty First banking with purpose and NCUA.
Constructors is now hiring. Constructors has immediate job openings for laborers, mechanics, bridge builders, operators, and drivers. Start your new career today. Constructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com.
Mike Shaver here to tell you that Trek CBD has a new name, and it's the same product you've grown to love, just a new name. Spring sports are on the horizon, and Hemp Boss has a variety of products that help calm me down during games and on the golf course so I don't go over the top. And they have a variety of options for you to calm you down before, during, and after any event. Whether you're looking for drinkable Delta 8 seltzers, hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups for your beverages, or anything else, Hemp Boss has it all at 84th and Eagerman. Hemp Boss, naturally healthy CBD.
Are you planting this spring? Make safety your priority. LES requires any landscaping or trees to be planted a safe distance from electrical lines and equipment to give crews safe access. Visit les.com/trees to learn more.
At first, I was really excited. It was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Can you believe all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, car price right out here to tell you that they are full of stuff. So Honey goes at prices. We won't let any one of our vehicles with our peace of mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler, brought to you by Wingstop on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
No matter what anybody says, top to bottom, I have no problem standing up and saying we're the best league in the country. When you have that number of teams beating out of each other every day, I don't think we're worn out from it. I just think you get a bad seed from it. So we had all these teams with 7, 8, and 9 seeds. And I'm not saying that was wrong, but that's what happens when I'd like to see some teams come in and survive this league in the places we play. So, I'm going to become a big Badger fan. I'm going to pull for them in the NIT, and I'm proud of my team, but I'm proud of the league too. And disappointments, there's disappointments, but I think as a 7 seed, maybe we showed how good our league was instead of, like some people say, the other way around.
We'll stay in.
No matter what anybody.
There, hear from Tom Izzo following his loss last night. A great game against K-State, including an all-time performance from Marquise Noel, who had an alley-oop that he was just, it looked like he was arguing with Jerome Tang. They claimed that was a genuine argument, and then the point guard saw the cutting Keontae Johnson and threw it up to him. But it looked like it maybe a little bit planned. Either way,
just say it was an actual play.
Either
just
way,
make it cooler.
Yeah. But either way, it was very cool, but a bad ending for the Big Ten. And then you hear the old argument that I've heard in college football for a long time. Top to bottom, though, the Big Ten. I mean, you got to look at top to bottom. You guys buying any of that? The Big Ten, by the way, has sent 17 teams to the NCAA tournament. And the last 2 years, none of them have reached the Elite Eight. They've had the most bids in each of the past 3 seasons. Only one team's made it to the Elite Eight 3 years ago. Is this the best top to bottom conference in the nation?
I made a bold proclamation before the NCAA tournament started and said no Big Ten team would make the Elite Eight. Yeah. And I was correct.
Well, the problem is that it's just not too bold outside of the Purdue.
Well, I didn't think Michigan State would run that far. I don't think this. I understand the sentiment from Tom Izzo, but maybe not the greatest time to say that, considering you had 8 teams in the tournament and you were the final team and you still couldn't make it to the Elite Eight. I understand how tough the Big Ten is in basketball and how, rough it is to go to all these places and play all these games. But that's kind of the argument that people say with the SEC and how it's so tough to play. Every single weekend is a grind, but they still seem to get a national championship at the end of it.
Yeah, in football. Nick, what are your kind of thoughts on the Big Ten? Does this have any? I mean, the lack of success, I should say, in the NCAA tournament, does that reflect at all on Nebraska's program where they're at? Going 500.
I don't think it reflects on Nebraska's program. I don't know. Like, you look at the Big Ten this year, and I think we could agree that either the Big 12 or the Big East was the best conference in all of basketball this year. But you look at like the Big Ten. And consistency wise, I think they have an argument for it because like this is Marquette's always been good, but they've never been a number 2. They haven't been a number 2 seed good in a long time. UConn bounces back and they're back into the Elite Eight under Dan Hurley in his first year, who's gotten over $250,000 in bonuses just from his performance this year already. He has earned a year extension.
Oh, nice.
And starting next year, he gets an extra $100,000 on his salary. So it's like he is done well in his first year. Creighton's in the Elite Eight. You had Providence, so
not yet. They have to fight for it tonight.
Yeah. Or excuse me. Yeah. Sorry. They're in the
almost
Sweet 16.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. Like, you look at like the even the Big 12. I think Oklahoma was 5-13 as in their conference. Outside of Minnesota, the label on the Big 10 for me is like, you have all these teams that can compete with each other from number 2 or number 3 to like number 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just had a jumble of teams because we were sitting there, guys, and going until the end of the season.
What was Northwestern's final game? Win and you're a 3 seed, lose and you're a 10?
Northwestern's was win, you're a 2 seed, lose, you're a 10. And it was like, what is going on? How do they? So I think it's just a jumble of really good basketball programs, really competitive basketball programs, but none that are spectacular. Like, even in the Big Ten, it was like Purdue and then kind of the field. Indiana was creeping up there. Northwestern, somewhat, I suppose.
At times,
at times it depended on the performance and boo-booey, I suppose. But like, you sat there and was like, all right, Purdue's at the top, and then it's kind of everybody else, and then Minnesota. Like, even Nebraska was in that conversation of, Nebraska can go and they, granted, Northwestern came into Lincoln and beat them, but like, a Northwestern can come to Lincoln and lose, or a Maryland who was in Iowa. Like, Nebraska went on the road to Iowa and stopped them from being a 4 seed in the conference tournament.
I mean, Nebraska went over to the Jersey Mike Center and beat Rutgers, and that's a place that's notorious for teams losing.
So, but again, all that sounds better,
but for the tournament, it's
before
bad.
The end of the
exactly,
year.
and that's what. So that's why I'm saying. I think I get what Tom Izzo is saying, because they look at it as the entirety of the season scope, and I get that, because I think I'm right there with them to an extent, but then it makes it look really bad in the NCAA tournament when year after year you're having a team that gets a 1 seed lose to a 16 for only the second time in NCAA tournament history. And then you just have kind of a bunch of other jumbles. Maryland got a tough draw with number 1 Alabama. Like, I don't know. I would put them as a top 2 basketball conference. I don't know over the last 5 years. Yes. This season, probably not.
It's a good sentiment. It's just not a great time to say it.
Yeah. Not after this year.
Well, and I think too, last year, I mean, this year it was like expected. None of these teams are really ranked in the top 25 outside of Indiana and Purdue. Don't get me wrong. Purdue wasn't supposed to lose to a 16 team, but I mean, you were pretty bold if you're picking anybody from the Big Ten outside of Purdue and your Elite Eight. I mean, because, just nobody showed that they're that team. Last year, very disappointing. You had Kofi Coburn and Jaden Ivey and Keegan Murray and just stars across the league, and they didn't get it done. But it's not a good look for the Big Ten one way or the other.
I mean, even saying, don't bet against, Tom Izzo in March. And nobody was expecting Michigan State to go this far, even with Tom Izzo.
Yeah. And they were that
were we
close to
surprised?
By Izzo?
No.
By Michigan State?
No.
Because
they have Tom Izzo.
Because I think like every year, no matter what seed Michigan State is, whether they're a 2, well, I guess not 2, if they're lower than a 5, like they always overplay their seed. Like they always play higher than their seed should indicate. So I mean, I don't know. Like I wasn't surprised to see a competitive game against Michigan or Kansas State.
The problem is you're having, and I've said this before, you have guys that are now like going into next year and in years future, the guys that have to get themselves out of the dirt, because I'm not betting on Brad Underwood in the tournament. I'm not betting on Fran McCaffrey in the tournament. I'm not betting on Matt Painter.
Yeah, I think I'm done with Matt. I'm done trusting Matt Painter.
Yeah.
I've been on his train the entire week. Micah Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
I'm betting on him.
With his new contract.
But he's not in the Big Ten anymore.
He's not in the Big Ten anymore. And that's bad for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That is like that might be a move that it's not going to go under the radar, but that's going to be one that we sit here next year. And if/when Penn State kind of falls off the rails, because I don't see them being able to get a guy like Micah Shrewsbury unless they are able to hit on a big time assistant. I don't see it. Like I could see him
it's a big loss.
Going to get like a Chris Collins type from one of those schools. Like Chris Collins came from Duke to Northwestern. But also, Chris Collins was on one of the hottest seats in America prior to this season.
Yeah, from where Penn State was to where he left them. He left them in a much better place than where he found them. It's going to be tough to find somebody to fill those shoes because you've been going through, if you're Penn State, you've been going through coaches trying to find it, and you couldn't find it until you got Shrewsbury. He's there for 2 years, and now he's up at
1.
And he was there for 2.
I thought he was there for 1.
No, this is his second year.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, they picked apart and put a good team together, but they're all seniors too.
I was just going to say,
so even if he
returned,
left,
I don't know.
You lose Jalen Pickett, you lose Lundy, you lose Funk.
Yeah, you sit there as a coach, as Penn State's next coach, and go, okay, was this built? Like I don't know.
Well, you proved that you could win there.
Yeah, with a guy that was snubbed of a first-team All-American honor and Jalen Pickett, and a guy that dropped 20-some points against Texas A&M in the NCAA tournament. And that's where I guess for the transfer.
Well, not even winning
a 10 seconds for station ID.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
We're back here on the Ticket Water Cooler, kind of talking about the Penn State job. And again, just kind of where it's left with Micah Shrewsbury leaving. This was a senior-led team. I mean, again, even Miles Dredd, now I think the more I look into it, the more seniors.
They're losing a lot.
They're losing a lot in Shrewsbury. So it's kind of, if I'm him, it's a great time to leave. You kind of just be the hero of Penn State. I'm not sure how well received it is that he left after, a quick tenure there, but it probably has an open invitation back if their next hire doesn't work out. But I don't know if Penn State as a program is able to keep this momentum. We talk about not being able to, just because of the lack of really interest around Happy Valley in the basketball program, the struggles to get a splash hire, but even just roster turnover, you got to build a new team basically.
And that's where I'm like, is Happy Valley a place where players will want to be? And I guess, I don't know, like Austin and I had the conversation yesterday of it's obviously relationships 98% of the time. But I think that's why Penn State held on to Pat Chambers for like 10 years, was because they understood. Now, he didn't take him to an NCAA tournament, but it was like they understood. Pat Chambers was, I want to say his record's around 500. So it's like,
he's a solid coach.
Yeah. So it's like he was fine. But then they felt like they could take the next step, and they did so, hiring Micah Shrewsbury from Purdue, I want to say, is where he was at last. as an assistant. And so it's like
Jim Ferry for one season between Pat Chambers.
So that worked. And then it was like, I don't know. I just wonder, it's going to be tough to see a step up. I mean, you could say the same for like Nebraska.
I'm just looking at the coaches before at Penn State. I'm just going to go from like 2000, right? So Jerry Dunn was there from 95 to 2003, 117 and 121. After that was Ed DeShellis, 114 and 138. Pat Chambers, 148 and 150. Jim Ferry for one season, 11 and 14. And then Micah Shrewsbury, 37 and 31. Mm-hmm. Since 2000, they've had one coach with an over 500 record in his career at Penn State. I mean, Pat Chambers was only 2 off, but still.
Yeah. And remember, he stepped down. He wasn't fired. Yeah. I mean, there was an investigation going on, so he was kind of forced out of there. No, I think, where was he coached now? Florida Gulf Coast or something?
Does Pat have a job?
Yeah, he's at
Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah. Dunk City, right?
Yeah.
Formerly known as Dunk City.
He's 17 and 15 at Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, that's not a bad start for him there. I did promise this, so I did want to mention this too. In college football, if you look at the champions since 2008 and how quarterback reliant they are, it's kind of interesting. I found this stat on college football Reddit, which Reddit's always awesome. But of the teams that have won the championship since 2008, kind of an interesting distinction here. Alabama and Georgia, their quarterback play, they've averaged 28 touchdowns per year. All the other championship teams have needed to average from their quarterback 47.7. That is almost a 19-20 touchdown difference needed from your quarterback. So basically what that says is unless you're Alabama or Georgia, or you basically need an equalizer at quarterback to defeat an Alabama or Georgia program that could rely more often on the run game and defense.
Does that make this weekend's Junior Day even that much more important?
Yeah, I think that kind of tells you why it's so big to get it, Dylan Raiola.
We should, before this weekend, we should make predictions, all of us, on where Dylan Raiola is going to go.
Okay.
Before he does the visit.
Yeah.
So right now?
Right now.
Georgia.
Okay. Where are you going, Buck?
Again, I can't. I mean, I hope Nebraska with all of my heart. But if I were him, I would go to.
I'm not asking if you were him.
Where do you think he's going, Buck? Stop trying to deflect.
I think Nebraska. Then I'll go with Nebraska.
I think Nebraska as well.
There we go.
We'll write it on the board.
Okay.
I'd still go to the Heisman maker if I was him.
Well, yes, yeah. If you were him, and if you were that
quarterback room is stacked, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. People forget they got Malachi Nelson.
You know who Georgia has? Nobody.
Hey, they've got some guys.
They ain't got nobody.
Does Nebraska have guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, how about
Jeff
that?
Sims has 2 years.
How about that stat I
didn't
just
ask
read?
if they had bodies.
You don't necessarily need to be a guy. If you get a guy at Georgia, Alabama, how much?
I should reiterate that. Does Nebraska have a guy or do they have bodies?
Hey, they love Heinrich Harburg.
Do they have a guy or do they have bodies?
I don't know. You got to ask the coaches.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. Some of the younger guys are going to have to develop one way or the other. That'll wrap it up for the Ticket Water Cooler Happy Hour coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.